And welcome to day 2 of Tech Show Today, reporting from the ABA Tech Show 2016 in Chicago, overlooking a sunny day on Lake Michigan. I'm Dennis Kennedy, co-host of the Kennedy Mile Report podcast on the Legal Talk Network, and founder and president of the Adriana Linares fan club. Adriana?
And sole member.
Well, I have an application pending.
Mine got rejected. Reapplied maybe.
I'm Adriana Linares. I'm a legal technology trainer and consultant, and I'm vice chair of the ABA Tech Show this year. To my right is the actual chair. Steve, introduce yourself.
I'm Steve Best with the Affinity Consulting Group, recovering lawyer, now legal technology somewhat expert, and I am proud and honored to be the chair of ABA Tech Show 2016, which is the 30th anniversary of ABA Tech Show.
Randy, what are you doing here?
I ate breakfast this morning, wandered in, and saw you guys. Thought I'd sit down.
Tell everybody what you do for a living when you're not being hysterical.
Well, so in the minority of my time, I am a practicing attorney. I defend physicians in healthcare institutions. I have a firm called Foley, Metzgir, and Juip in southeastern Michigan, and I try a lot of cases.
And you've been on the board for a couple of years now.
4 years. 4 years. 4 great years.
4 great years. And your specialty has been helping ABA Tech Show do what?
Yeah, so I've worked on the Mac track. Macs are a passion of mine. I've had Macs in my practice since I started it back in 2009, and I do litigation and this year the visual presentations track. So the Mac track has really kind of been my home, and it's the reason that Tech Show drew me years ago initially.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I left a firm that I was at in 2009, started my own firm, and quickly learned that I was completely overwhelmed. I had no idea which way it was up. Billing, accounting, what router, what this, what that. I received by chance a Tech Show mailer in the mail. Decided this seems like something I need. Came to Tech Show, and it was the best 3 days that I spent. And I've told people before, this show saved my business. It saved my career. I wouldn't be where I am right now without Tech Show, which is why I love it so much. It's unparalleled. It's fantastic to be at a show like this with great minds like this, learning, talking, kind of trading tips.
It really is fun, and you've worked really hard to put together another great Mac track. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about the sessions that were planned and the experts that you've got. You've got a great lineup.
They're phenomenal. This year's Mac track was as good, if not better, than previous Mac tracks, I think. We've always tried to coordinate a sensible Mac track, something that makes sense to not just folks that are working on PCs and that are a little bit curious about switching to Macs, but teaching Mac-using attorneys how they can use the Mac more productively in their own practices. So, for example, this year we had a track called Taking the Plunge, which was about how to actually pull the trigger and switch from using a PC to a Macintosh, which a lot of times is a very daunting experience until you realize that there are so many similarities in the structural architecture and the hardware of a Mac that it's often just an issue of learning what analogous software there is on the Mac side and adopting that, learning the built-in workflows to the Mac iOS or OS, and then if you can't find something on the PC side, you virtualize a computer and you can run it like that. And we've been running Macs in our law firm since 2009, and they've been fantastic. We had a session on how to actually use your Mac at home and at work, so that you can use all the great Mac stuff at home for pictures of your kids and your dogs, whatever else you may have, your iTunes collection, your movies, and then take that same machine to work and use it as a dedicated work machine without corrupting, without crossing that wall between personal and professional. We had a great session that was called the Milo Roundtable. Milo is a big Google group of Mac-using attorneys, almost 5,000 attorneys. Oh, man. And they tweeted in and emailed in questions for the two presenters, Victor Medina and Mark Metzgir, and those were answered live, which was kind of exciting.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it worked out really well. It was a lot of great questions from the audience about very practical Mac-type tips. And the last one in the Mac track was the Mac power users, which this year actually had David Sparks and Katie Floyd, who are the Mac power users based on their podcast that's insanely successful. And that was a packed audience, lots of really kind of set your hair on fire type tips. It was a great Mac track.
So how was the attendance this year? We were talking before the show started how back when I was on the board 1,000 years ago, and when Adriana was first on the board, we used
900 years ago.
We used to lobby for one Mac session and be voted down whatever to one. And then when we started the Mac thing, it seems like it's standing room only. What was the attendance this year?
Yeah, so this year, attendance was actually down in the first couple of sessions. And we talked about that between the faculty and myself. And I think part of the reason was some of the other options that were competing with the Mac track were insanely cool this year.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been some really, really tough decisions for a lot of the attendees in deciding what to go to. So attendance was down from what it was traditionally in the first two sessions, but it picked right back up in the third. And again, it was that same situation again in the fourth session, a packed room, one of the larger halls downstairs. So
Yeah, there's a lot of stiff competition on the agenda for any
was
session.
incredible, yeah.
I've had a lot of people say to me, I wish I could be in two places. So,
That'll be in another year or so when we can virtualize ourselves.
oh my God, I can't wait.
yeah.
I think the other issue with the Mac track, the early on Mac track, is that a lot of people are repeat attendees.
Yeah.
And they've already switched to the Mac, so they wanted to go to the more advanced stuff.
Yep.
And they skipped the basic stuff.
Yeah, I've had some Mac track groupies, and we can call them that. That's all right. We're comfortable with that. Say, like, man, I'm sorry, but I really want to go to this other thing, and I know you guys are around, so we'll hang out later. So it was great, though. It was good for the people that were there. It was even better for the people who attended later.
That's great.
You know, Randy, I think that you have a classic story that I've seen over the years happen a lot, where somebody who's interested in technology as a lawyer comes here for the first time. They discover like the kindred spirits. They get involved, and then they start speaking, and they become regulars on the board. Do you find, say, in the Mac track, the tracks you're working with, are there other people like you who just started out as practicing lawyers, came here, and now all of a sudden they're part of the faculty and really able to express themselves and help lawyers?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the great parts about this conference is meeting other people that are in that same kind of situation, lawyers who want to become more efficient. And, as a lawyer, I mean, we know this, your time literally is money. There's a direct dollar relationship between the time you spend on something and the time you don't spend on something. And so going to a conference for someone who bills by the hour is a daunting proposition, because you're taking time out of the office, you're taking money off the table, you're taking money out of your pocket, and there needs to be a return. And TECHSHOW is, for me, one of the few conferences that I can go to, and I'm not missing that revenue. I know that I'm going to learn something here. And it's happened every year. I think, oh, what more could Randy Juip learn? But every year I walk away thinking, how did I not know that? Or how could I not have figured this out? Or it's just unbelievable. And when you gain productivity, I mean, you gain 6 minutes a day. That's a 0.1 on the bill sheet. You do that 5 times a week. You do that 50 weeks a year. That's real money.
Right.
I mean, that'll pay for that new whatever thing it was that now I have to buy.
Which can be expensive in the Mac world.
It can,
right.
but it's worth it because it's pretty.
Yeah. Steve, it's almost over for you.
It is. One and a half
About
more days.
24 more hours.
That's right. And then I pass the baton or the proverbial whip to
just
you.
make sure it's bedazzled.
Yeah.
Tell us about your year as tech chair. All right, TECHSHOW chair.
This was it was really an incredible year. I mean, when we first met, which the board met right after TECHSHOW 2015, immediately after TECHSHOW 2015, in the room where we said goodbye to my predecessor, Brett Burney. We had a meeting immediately after that lunch, and basically, at that point, I challenged the board. I said, I want to break out of this little box that we're in. TECHSHOW, I think, TECHSHOW is a great show. I mean, it's a phenomenal conference, and if you've not been, make plans to be here next year for sure. But I wanted to break the mold a little bit and challenge everybody to try to find some new speakers, some cutting-edge topics. And one of the things that I think that came out of that, and in our meeting in Orlando, and our meeting in Atlanta, and then our meeting in Greenville, South Carolina, is we really did break the mold.
Absolutely.
We really tried so hard to find some new cutting-edge speakers, cutting-edge topics, and it came to fruition. And yesterday, with all wonderful responses that we got from the attendees about how great things were and how challenged people were to try to be in 2 places at one time, and that was music to my ears, because that was one of the goals that I wanted to meet.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing for me is that the world of conferences is so different now, and you're competing with so many things. And so I think you do need to add things, to change things, and to always keep trying things. And I think that This year. There is that notion of this is a show, and so there's different things for you to do. You can keep yourself busy. I didn't have plans to do tons of things, but I feel like I'm fully booked. I found a DAR IT down in the exhibit hall that has an oxygen bar, and I can't wait to get back to that today. So there's like all sorts of cool things. So I'm advocating oxygen bar for next year. So
For next year? We should have our own oxygen bar. Noted, Dennis.
And that's a great point because and the expo hall is just phenomenal. There's a lot of good energy in there. There's a lot of new vendors in there. The prior vendors who've been there have changed their booths. They've modernized them. Their products have matured. It's exciting. There was really a lot of electricity in there yesterday.
You've got a great keynote that's going to speak this
And
afternoon.
I'm so excited about Cindy Cohn from the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And in fact, when the board asked her to join us as the keynote, that was back in like August of last year. And little did we know that it was going to become such a hot, relevant news item for her to be here, since she's been on NBC News and CNN talking about the controversy between Apple and the FBI, and that's right up her proverbial alley. And so I'm even doubly thrilled that she's here and can't wait to hear her speak this afternoon.
Yeah.
So I always think that the Friday of Tech Show is when you can turn this into like a championship tech show. And so this is the day when I think you kind of say, whatever energy I have, because you can get worn out after day one, say, how many vendors can I visit? How many things can I attend? Can I pretend I'm interested in starting a blog and go beer for bloggers? Do the Taste of Tech show. I mean, that's sort of one of my things is like, if you like what's going on and you're not on a Taste of Tech show dinner, to sign up. And if they're all filled up, just hang out there and try to find a cancellation and get on there. Come up to the Tech Show suite tonight and just wear yourself out. And I just think you'll have an amazing experience on the Friday of Tech Show.
And the other thing that I want to mention is our faculty is phenomenal this year, and everyone is approachable and greets people with open arms. They want to hear your individual story and engage with you, and that's one of the wonderful things about this conference too. That as opposed to some of the other conferences I've been to, I think the faculty is they're warm, they're open, and they're really willing to listen to what your story is and help you with your issues and listen and really engage with you.
Yeah, it's sort of, I sometimes tell people at Tech Show what you want to do is if there's a speaker that you really liked or somebody you want to meet, you just go up and go like, hey, I loved your presentation, and they'll talk to you for half an hour.
Exactly.
They're also passionate. That's the best part,
Right.
is to see lawyers and legal technologists literally geek out about what's going on.
Yeah.
We were just sharing a story.
A lot of nerdgasms happening.
It's fantastic about the amazing things that happen on those stages, about the stuff that's going up on the screen, the live demos. I mean, these are people that are passionate about technology and about how technology can make life easier for lawyers. And it's really inspiring.
Barron was just telling us at breakfast, I didn't get to see this session, but he was telling us that Ben Shore and Alan McKenzie had a OneNote session. So Ben was up at the front of the room, working on OneNote, and Alan was in the back walking around, and they were showing how two people live can collaborate on OneNote notebooks. And for Barron Henley to have been awestruck, that session was awesome. So that was great. No, we definitely have some very creative and amazing speakers and sessions this year. I hate to see it close down tomorrow. It's a lot of fun. You're ready for it to close down tomorrow.
Well, and you're ready to take the reins.
12 months to Tech Show 2017.
That's right.
Right.
And I think it's almost the same exact dates next year.
That's right. Well, thanks so much, you guys, for taking some time this morning. I know
This
we've
was
all got to
fun.
get moving to kick off the second day, Friday, TGIF, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Should we invite people back for our later shows today, which I think are at different times today?
Yeah.
Is it 1:30 and
Yes.
5
Make sure you
Central?
come back at 1:30 and 5 o'clock Central Time for the next episode of Tech Show Today.